Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway account from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit and the relationship advice subreddit as well, and says, Am I the arsehole for refusing to eat my girlfriend's parents' ethnic food? Fake names used. Olivia, female 22, and I, male 18, have been dating for about 7 months. We met at uni as we're both doing a BA in primary education. She's in her second year, but we met through the course. Olivia is Japanese. Her family has been in England for about 8 years. The whole family, but especially Olivia, are obsessed with English culture. I joke that she is a Britaboo. Britaboo? I have to excuse my ignorance here, this is the first time I've heard of Britaboo, but apparently, according to Urban Dictionary, is an individual who does not come from Great Britain and obsesses with British culture, whilst being both ignorant and moronic, usually a Sherlock fan, and thinks tea is a godsend. OP continues, which is honestly quite accurate. She cried when the Queen died. Lol. On the Wednesday just past, I was invited to a meal with Olivia's family. This was a big deal. The first time I would meet them. I'd seen pictures and whatever, but never met them. She told me they're more relaxed now since moving to England, but they're still very traditional, and honestly, I'm still not too sure what that means in Japanese terms. I know what it would mean if someone here said their parents were very traditional, but not for a Japanese family. But anyway, I wanted to make a good impression, so I told her to instruct me how to behave in the house, and when meeting them, Olivia said she was really excited for me to try her family's ethnic food. That is how she described it, and I was looking forward to it also. Fast forward to the night. It was all going great. We sat down to eat, and this is where things went wrong. When Olivia's mum brought out the food, it was udon noodles with chicken and a fried egg on top, as well as what looked to be chicken kebabs. They called them something different, but I can't remember the name. I instantly felt embarrassed. I looked over to Olivia, who was smiling and signaling for me to eat it. This is where I think I fucked up, because I just blurted out, I can't eat this. I think overly bluntly, and looked at the mum. I thought there had been some mistake. I was raised and still am vegan. Olivia knows this. I thought she would have communicated it to her parents. Olivia looked embarrassed. I felt embarrassed. She was like, just try it, just try. But I told her no, I can't eat it if it's meat. Her parents seemed confused. I explained that I was vegan, and they were just like, why didn't you say before we cooked? And I just said I thought Olivia would have told you. I just looked at her. I felt so embarrassed, and she was still telling me to try because you've never had this type before. I refused to eat it. Olivia's mum went and brought me something else out, which she said had no meat. The whole evening after that was incredibly awkward. After I left, Olivia messaged me and we had a huge fight. She said how I embarrassed her by not even trying the food. I told her I couldn't even try it if I wanted to. I've never eaten meat or any animal products in my life. If I had eaten it, then I would have gotten sick. I asked why she didn't tell her parents I was vegan. She said she thought I would just break it for the one night. She said her mum was disappointed she had to waste all the food she had cooked for me because it was so expensive. Nah, you've never met the parents before in your life. This was your first time meeting them, so I feel like this is on Olivia to tell them that you are vegan. She knew you was vegan. Why on earth wouldn't she tell her parents that? And then expecting you to just take a break for one night from being a vegan? What the fuck? But Shiny Baby Cheetah says, not the arsehole. The title is a bit misleading. You didn't refuse to eat ethnic food. You refused to eat meat because you're a lifelong vegan. Olivia is in the wrong here. She should have told her parents so they could make you a meal you could eat. It seems like Olivia wanted you to break your own convictions to make a good impression, and that was wrong of her. OP responds saying, I think I failed to express it well in the post, but Olivia made it seem like I refused to eat it because it was ethnic food, which wasn't the reason for me. It was because it was animal products, which makes no sense because I ate the food they gave me afterwards, which I hope had no animal products in. And Net My Side says, I read the title thinking there's no way that OP is not the arsehole. But after reading, you are not the arsehole. If If you ate eggs after not eating them ever, not meat, you'd have a terrible night. Way more embarrassing. You could have finessed your reaction. Maybe you did with, sorry, this looks delicious, but I'm vegan and haven't eaten meat before. I'm having a hard time not trying it, but I'm sure I get sick, etc. This way the mum doesn't feel like you rejected their food, but sounds like she didn't and was understanding. Also seems to me like your girlfriend had an issue with you being vegan and hope that this ploy would embarrass you enough to force you into changing your ways. Very rude and manipulative in my opinion. Wildflower says, not the arsehole. It's your girlfriend's fault and she needs to accept the blame for the lack of communication with her parents. She had no right to assume you would just break it for one night. That's not how true vegans do things, and she's plenty old enough to know that. She also could have discussed it with you first and asked if you would try the food, so that you could have said no before even going over there, and before a mother spent time and money on the meal. You should be mad at her, not the other way around, and if her mum is disappointed over the waste of food, she should be disappointed in her daughter. Archetyping 101 says not the arsehole, but Olivia is. I'm Asian and my partner is white. I make it very clear to my parents what she won't eat before we even decide where to go. Why would Olivia not tell her parents? I absolutely do not think it's okay to expect someone who's vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, etc. to have to change their diet for even one time because their partner wants them to. It wasn't her call to make. She should have given her parents a heads up. Instead, she made it out like you were the issue and that this was your fault. Nope, this was Olivia's fault. So this is when OP moved to the relationship advice subreddit with a post titled, My male 18, girlfriend female 22 is still mad at me for something that happened 6 weeks ago. Is the relationship over? I don't know where to go from here. About 6 weeks ago, I had my first dinner with Olivia's family, which turned into a disaster because of Olivia didn't tell her parents that I was vegan. When they served meat dishes, I refused to eat them, which made Olivia really upset and apparently made her parents angry at me. Since then, things have been rough between us. We talked things through initially, but the tension has stuck around. We had several arguments about respect and communication. Olivia thinks I should have been more flexible for one night. Well, I feel my dietary choices are a core part of who I am and should be respected. I tried to smooth things over, but every time I'm around her family, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. Things have gotten worse between Olivia and me. She has been increasingly critical of my vegan lifestyle, making comments about how inconvenient it is and how it complicates things. Previously, she was incredibly supportive, would look up what vegan options were at restaurants before we went, for example. I've told her how important it is for me, but she doesn't seem to care anymore. Everything came to a head on last week. We were planning a weekend trip and I asked that we look for somewhere with good vegan options, and she went mad at me. Why do we always have to cater to your diet? Why can't we go somewhere I enjoy? I told her to go where she wanted, but if I couldn't eat anything, I wouldn't join her. She could take her friends or whatever. I didn't care. She said that I'm being too rigid and that I should be more willing to adapt. I'm starting to feel like Olivia wants me to change who I am to fit better into her world. She keeps suggesting that I try to be more normal and flexible. I don't think my choices are abnormal or unreasonable. The strain is affecting our relationship, and I'm beginning to question if we're truly compatible. I really love Olivia, and I want things to work out, but I don't know how. Are we just too different? How do I get her to understand what she knew before? A couple of comments from the top on that one. One says Olivia is at fault. She should have told her parents. She needs to tell her parents not to be angry at you. She has a lot of apologizing to do. I agree with you going somewhere she wants to go. You should still be able to find something on the menu. Anyway, I don't see this getting resolved. Move on. Old Willingness says you want her to adapt to your ways, go to your restaurants, but you won't go to hers. You're selfish. Now, our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit from CInfluence2559 and says, Am I the Arsehole Here for suggesting a threesome who brought a friend along and expected me to pay? I've been talking to Denise for a couple of weeks and our schedules finally aligned last weekend. I said we should get food and see where it goes. She didn't want me to pick her up, so we arranged to meet up. I got there early and had a beer while I waited. When she showed up, she had a friend along. I thought maybe that was her ride or she wanted someone to meet me in case things got sketchy. Nope, that girl sat with us at the restaurant. She ordered drinks and a meal. She was cool and I enjoyed talking to her almost as much as with Denise. When the bill came, the waitress asked how we were paying. I asked for a couple of seconds. The waitress left and I asked Denise what was going on. She said that her friend was along to make sure I was a good guy and that I should be paying for her too. I said that I had only asked her out and not the friend, and that I would not be paying for her. Denise said that I should be trying to impress her and I was failing. I saw what was going on and decided to bounce. I said that I would pay for supper if a threesome was on the table. Denise and her friend got offended and said that I was a pig. When the waitress came back, I paid for my meals and drinks. I almost made sure to give her a cash tip and explained that it was a tip and not to be applied to the rest of the bill. Then I got up and left. Denise texted and called me a dozen names to insult me and called me cheap. I may have been vulgar, but I don't think I was in the wrong. On the back of this one, Less Than asks OP, they said, I can't help but be curious. What if they did say yes to a threesome? OP says, probably freaked out. Next commenter says, but you would have paid, right? OP says yes. No Lavishness says, I like the cut of your jib. Nervous, confused, maybe a little nauseous, but still willing to give it a go. Another comment says, not the arsehole. I'm not one for hookups since I am old and ugly, but if I was getting together, seems to be when you hook up. If she brought another girl along for you to pay for it, it wasn't unreasonable. But you weren't doing it as a real suggestion. You were doing it to fuck with them. Hope says, it wasn't a serious suggestion. I would not know how to handle 2 women at once. I am not that guy. Independent Treat says, honestly, even as a woman, I'm upset about her and her friend's behavior. I'd understand a friend coming to check you out, even her sitting at the bar or a different table to check you out and for safety. But to sit at the table with you two feels weird. Then for them both to expect you to pick up the whole tab is ridiculous. I honestly giggled at the way you handled it with the joke about the threesome because it shows how ridiculous their expectations were. It also allowed for a decent getaway. Block her and be done with it, not the arsehole. I always love it when people expect you to pick up a tab like that, and then like when you refuse and they text you calling you cheap and you're like, you bloody cheeky so-and-so. Anyway, OP updated the post and says, I ran into Denise's friend while I was out with my dog about a week ago. I prepared myself for a verbal assault after our last encounter. Instead, she apologized. She said that it had been Denise's idea for her to come along and she had been surprised when Denise expected me to pay the full bill. She said that she had thought I was a toxic asshole for suggesting a threesome, but that she had seen the story on TikTok and recognized that it was my point of view. She tracked down the post on Reddit and the comments stung, but they had been fair. She said she had enjoyed talking to me and offered to take me out for supper, her treat to make up for the last time. I declined, but I offered to let me buy a coffee at the dog-friendly cafe by the park. We had a really great time and she's the sort of person I was looking for when I had asked out Denise. I got her information and we've been talking for a week now. We are going out to see Twisters on Friday. My treat. So something good came out of it. Thanks all and wish me luck. All I can say is, when Denise finds out about this, it's gonna fucking kick off, mate. But No Lavishness says, I did not see that coming. I hope the movie date goes well. Good luck. First Acknowledge says, the date will be great. Good luck. Hartman says, as long as Denise doesn't show up. Foreign says, update us when Denise finds out. Lanky Turtle says, can you imagine they become an item and when Denise confronts them, OP is just like, you were right. It was great to have a friend there. You didn't look good in front of either of us. Then walks away. Another comment says, plot twist. You're just playing the long game and you totally need to bring one of your bros to your date with her. OP says no. Like I said last time, my sex life is as vanilla as you could imagine. My wordy, you just know if that ever, well, it will come out at some point since Denise and her are friends, but when she does find out, dearie me, what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, I saw this one on the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. No update is yet, but I thought it was an interesting title. Firm Language 5643 says, am I the arsehole for telling my friend that she isn't traumatized from somebody else's proposal? I, 20 female, had 3 close friends in college. Grace, 21 female, Matt, 21 male, and Laura, 21 female. Laura really likes using mental health terminology. She explores a lot of labels from those therapist influencers online. She was told that she has an anxiety disorder and depression, but that's the only diagnosis she's been given so far. Recently, she's been exploring autism and ADHD. Matt wanted to propose to Grace. They've been dating for a while. He's been planning the proposal for a couple of weeks, and while the proposal was very intimate between the two of them, I was very involved in scheduling the after-proposal event at a restaurant. The specifics of that are irrelevant to the story, but it was lovely and Grace and Matt seemed really happy. Laura told us that she didn't want to be involved in planning the proposal because it reminded her of her parents' divorce. She said that she might come to the post-engagement party. But come the day of the engagement and both Matt and I forget to check in on Laura. I don't think it's Matt's fault at all because he was occupied with far more important things, but I feel a bit guilty about not reminding her. She ended up not coming to the party. The next day, she starts posting online some dramatic, for the lack of a better word, things about how it was traumatizing to see how little her friends cared about her, and that she'd be updating her followers on her trauma therapy journey. She posts that she's now in a really dark place and she thinks she has PTSD. For context, I'm pretty sensitive to mentions of trauma and PTSD because I was diagnosed with PTSD by a psychologist in my last year of high school after something that happened in my first. I found a lot of guilt and shame around this because I spent a lot of time feeling that the thing that happened wasn't bad enough to count. I sometimes still get nightmares and flashbacks, but it's gotten better after therapy. I know that I have my own issues wrapped up regarding the word, and it bothers me a lot when people seem to throw the terms around without understanding their weight, but I also acknowledge that I can't stop the internet from doing its thing. I haven't told any of my college friends about this, so Laura doesn't know. At one point she called me and started explaining how traumatized she is, and I finally snapped and said, "You are not traumatized, stop being dramatic, you just got exactly what you asked for." Now, I feel guilty because I feel like I was a little harsh, and she's posting online, without my name at least, that one friend that she thought she could rely on to support her is abusive and doesn't understand how being traumatized works. However, I feel like honestly, Laura's being very dramatic about an event that's not about her. I called my mum to see what her opinion is, and she told me that I could have reminded Laura about the party, and while my point is not necessarily wrong, I could have been more sensitive. Now, I'm not sure how wrong I am. In the comments, didn't like default names as not the arsehole. I cannot stand people who throw around psychological terminology with actual meanings to describe just their normal feelings. This person is absolutely creating their own drama, and you want no part of it. OP says thank you. That's kind of how I feel about it. Like all of us will be tired, overwhelmed, whatever, but Laura has anxiety, burnout, some fancier term to describe the same thing. Didn't like replies to that again, saying I find it manipulative and also very self-aggrandizing. She doesn't get nervous, she has an anxiety disorder or whatever she's saying. People who do that without actually going to the doctors and getting diagnosed are just trying to justify their behavior and do tremendous disservice to actual mental health. Adventures of Violet says, why would anyone need to check on the day of someone else's proposal? She said she might come to the after party. It's on her to decide if she'll come. OP, this is a friend who is going to require far too much attention when it comes to little things, making everyone miserable. Do not apologize, keep your distance and re-examine what kind of friendship you want. Puka says, not the arsehole, your friend follows therapist influencers and then diagnoses herself. This is absolute nonsense and does not warrant a minute of your time or thoughts. She can post whatever she likes online. You'd be better off ignoring her since, after a little while, everyone will forget what she posted anyway. There are so many individuals out there who are truly struggling every day with their mental health and are desperately trying to manage yet another day in the face of incredible difficulties. One final comment from Equivalent 2 who says, not the arsehole. Why would you otherwise check in on Laura? You check in on her every day. You let her know when the party/restaurant bit would be. She said she might not come. Okay, fine. Did she want you to convince her to come? The celebration is not about Laura. She was invited. She can manage her own calendar. You are not a mental health professional, nor are you Laura's mental health care provider. If she needed support and did not ask, you aren't psychic to know. Laura sounds a bit passive-aggressive. Please stop feeling guilty. You did nothing wrong. If Laura's so convinced you're abusive because you didn't check on her and then called her on your BS, book her into the school's counseling center for a few appointments. Your mother is wrong. She sounds like she is the don't rock the boat type of thinking. You had zero indication that Laura would forget the party, nor did you know what Laura expected of you because she waited until you didn't do what she wanted. Make a big deal over her. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.